Ongoing discussions between visiting German Chancellor Angela Merkel and President Akufo-Addo could be crucial in determining the fate of some 4,000 Ghanaians living illegally in Germany. The case of the migrants who are up for deportation for various immigration offences is one of the issues the two leaders will be discussing. The German leader is in Ghana as part of a three-nation tour of Africa to promote trade and investment as well as deal with the root cause of illegal migration. Well, the visit of the German Chancellor Angela Merkel witnessed the signing of a memorandum of understanding between the two countries, between the leading automobile manufacturing firm Volkswagen and global electronic firm Bosch and government of Ghana towards the setting up of an assembly plant in Ghana. Angela Merkel says her country is also helping Ghana improve its roads and railway sectors.
We'll be able to say that we're going to sign 3 memorandum of understanding today, and with us will be companies that are here to sign that agreement. Bosch, VW are just 2 of them. We will continue to assist you in industrializing your country, and Ghana plays a very important part in the region. And thus, it is our interest not only to accompany Ghana in its development, but also to assist ECOWAS. We know that there are many young people in the countries in this part of Africa, young people who claim to be given opportunities in their own countries. And we want to do whatever we can to avoid a situation where young people are so desperate that they set out on a life-threatening journey in order to emigrate to European countries. We want them to be able to find their opportunities here. And we also intend to cooperate on legal migration issues, granting visa for students from Ghana to go and come to Germany to be trained there or to go to university there.
President Akufo-Addo is hopeful some of government's flagship programs will receive partnership from investors.
We've had a satisfactory exchange of views regarding the treatment of the small handful of Ghanaians who are living in Germany illegally. And I believe the understandings that we have reached will enable us to address this issue in a mutually acceptable manner. Chancellor, I'm particularly delighted with the decision taken by your government to streamline its development support to that of my government's vision of a Ghana beyond aid, as reflected in the ENPACT initiative that is supporting Ghanaian startups. Furthermore, Germany's presidency of the G20, which led to the creation of the G20 Compact with Africa, is ensuring more private sector investments to Ghana and other Africa countries. Indeed, the presence of the Federal Minister for Economic Cooperation and Development, Mr. Gerd Müller, different from the footballer, and a business delegation comprising leaders of 12 key German companies from the energy, construction, health, and agricultural sectors, seeks to reinforce the commitment of Germany to explore the investment and trade opportunities that abound in Ghana. We're encouraged by the fact that more German companies than ever are looking to invest in Ghana, symbolized by the opening of representations of Germany industrial giant ThyssenKrupp and the German logistics global player Kuhn and Nagel in the country. And we will continue to create and maintain the conducive investment atmosphere that will not only guarantee the safety of their investments, but good returns on them as well.
On plans to set up the VW assembly plant in Ghana, Information Minister designates Kojo Nkrumah tells Joy News production should start from the first half of next year.
Honorable Trade and Industries Minister, the Honorable Chairman, signed on behalf of the government of Ghana. There were a number of MOUs that have been signed. One of them is with Volkswagen. They will be under this memorandum of understanding once we complete all the necessary processes, setting up a plant that is expected to assemble about 500 cars. I'm not quite sure of the period, whether it's per month or so, but about 500 cars over a period. It will provide jobs of about 150 highly skilled jobs as well. We expect construction of the plant to commence this year and production of these vehicles to start before the first half of the year 2019. But in the days to come, the Trades Minister will provide some more detail on this, the Bosch deal, and some of the other MOUs.
Well, even before the Trades Minister brings those details or makes available those details, we've been speaking with a VW representative here in Ghana, and that's coming up later on in the business news. Emmanuel Abaji will be here with all of that. But right now, joining us on phone is Gyakye Tano with Trade NGO, Third World Network. He's quite knowledgeable about Germany's investment on the African continent. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Tano. Now, the setup of a VW plant in Ghana should be exciting news for us, no?
Well, it depends. I think that, as we're all aware, we've been here before. We've had assembly plants in Ghana previously. We still have many assembly plants across Africa. That has not necessarily translated into ensuring that there's transfer of technology, that there is greater leeway for local products to be part of the supply chain, and for the general upgrade of our industrial and manufacturing capacity. So it depends really on the terms of the agreement, which will bring the assembly plant to Ghana, because we're also aware that our country can become simply a hub, which enables the German company to, increase its share of our local market as well as the regional market as well, whilst our own industrialization agenda includes the necessity of ensuring that we have greater, impact in our own regional markets, and that our economies are more integrated, and that we upgrade in terms of our industrial capacity. So there really is we don't know yet what the details are. But if we're going to go by the trends of German, historic association with Africa, the record so far isn't one that has enabled, transformative development to take place. So I think some element of caution, some element of wait and see is necessary in this case as well.
But can we expect to have at least cheaper German cars, so cheaper spare parts?
Well, I mean, I won't be able to say. Obviously, we would have been able to have cheaper spare parts if an agreement like this includes the development of Ghanaian capacity to provide some of those parts themselves. We all know that many global automobile manufacturers these days rely on a global supply chain, which includes different parts being produced by different companies and different components across the world. If we hear that such, Ghanaian companies are being enabled to do that, then I think that we can have those positive expectations that you imply or you are alluding to. Otherwise, we will still be in a position where our trade deficit increases. We simply have more imports of, and our currency suffers as a result, and that basically the structural problems that we continue to face will not be, eased or alleviated simply because there's foreign companies coming into this country. Let's not forget that we already have very lax, investment rules. For example, for the mining companies, they come here, they make a lot of money, governments sit by, they can sack thousands of workers and so on and so forth. And we ought to be careful that it is not always the case that the net benefit of foreign investment actually yields the results or satisfies or fulfills the expectations that we might have. Germany is a net exporter and has a trade balance surplus with Africa. So, for example, and it happens in a variety of different ways. So, for example, our second biggest export to Europe, as Africa generally, is coffee. The African countries who export coffee make a total of about $2.8 billion from that. Germany's re-export of coffee, Germany alone, is $3.8 billion. It doesn't grow one single coffee tree, but it's because it monopolizes the high value addition end. It monopolizes the branding technology and the intellectual property associated with it, and so on and so forth. If you transfer the same arrangement to car assembly or other areas of the economy, you are simply, increasing the outlets through which we have a net loss in terms of our surpluses transferred, which are captured by other companies from economic activities that take place within our own economy. So again, as I said, the record is not a very good one as of now, and we hope that we will be able to look to a situation where our governments are a bit more aggressive and a bit more interventionist to ensure that the balance of benefits increasingly favor us, like what has happened today.
Mr. Tano, I also like us to consider this. Ahead of this announcement, we've heard Kantanka Automobile, the local automobile company that's been assembling cars, vehicles here. They've raised concerns about the fact that they were expecting that they will be getting some reliefs, the same kind of reliefs that are given to foreign investors such as VW. do they have any cause to complain?
Well, they do. I think that we are all aware in this country that that is the general cry of industry, okay, that the governments bend over backwards to accommodate foreign investment and do not extend the same support for domestic producers. Okay, we have a situation where that is, beginning to be amplified and beginning to be multiplied across a variety of different sectors. So again, I think that the Kantaka's demand has a strong basis. If we say we are going to go to one district, one factory, we ought to ensure that those infant industries, those nascent industries that we seek to develop also have a market within our domestic economy and the regional economy, and that they're not squeezed out or frozen out by cheap imports, subsidized imports from people who already have technological monopolies and so on and so forth. So I think we ought to be slightly more clever, slightly more intelligent going forward than simply, opening our arms wide and celebrating the fact that any investment is necessarily good investment. I think there's ample evidence that that's not always necessarily the case, and that we hope that a government which seems to want to bring back industrialization back into the center stage of national economic policy will be a lot more circumspect than we've come to see in our recent past. And let me also add that part of the reason for the German Chancellor's visit here is to promote the idea of this compact with Africa. And she said in one of her exchanges today here in Accra, that the key thing that they are seeking in relation to the compact, in terms of the compact with Africa, is regulatory and business reforms that will enable German businesses and other businesses to find places like Ghana as even more attractive destinations for investment. Now, bear in mind what Kantaka has said and what our own history is in terms of the inimitable conditions which affect Ghanaian and local producers vis-a-vis the lax, incentives and the investment regime that is given to foreign investors. And if Mrs. Merkel's aim is to make those investment regulations even more lax than they are, then we are not really looking at we can't really look to that future or that prospect with the kind of positiveness that he wants us to take this development. I think we ought to be a bit more skeptical, but more importantly, we ought to be able to determine for ourselves more precisely a focused industrial strategy and see how best something like a VW assembly plant fits into our own industrial development strategy, rather than simply it being another, a foreign investment entry here when we're not too sure of what the benefits might be.
All right. Thank you very much, Jachitano. Jachitano is with Trader NGO, Third World Network. You're watching Joy News Prime here on the Joy News channel. Still ahead in the bulletin, Ghana Union of Traders Associations to suspend plans to close shops after government promises to address their concerns about high import duties. And still to come, as I indicated earlier, we have that interview with the VW, Managing Director of VW Africa, talking about the number of vehicles that are going to be produced here in Ghana following the visit by the German Chancellor Angela Merkel. So we have those details coming up. All your questions will be answered. Stay tuned. We'll be back in a bit. The Ghana Union of Traders Associations, GUTA, and other affiliate trading groups have put on hold their decision to close their shops from Monday. The traders say they arrived at the decision after President Akufo-Addo, in a meeting on Wednesday, assured them government will reduce what they say is the high import duty and that there will be no charges applicable to the implementation of the cargo tracking note now or in the future. The planned cargo tracking note at Ghana's ports is expected, among others, to maximize government's revenue and monitor import traffic into the country. But some importers say it is a disincentive for their businesses. Dr. Joseph Obeng is president of GUTA.
The rate of duties is going to be reduced. The cost of the program itself is going to be absorbed by government, not only for the implementation and the experimentation period, but even thereafter, if it becomes necessary for them to continue with the CTN. Government is going to absorb it, and this one too is on the record, and we are going to sign memorandums of understanding to this effect. The government has given us 6 weeks extension. Throw away. Hey. The government has given us 6 weeks extension. If you all recall, the deadline was 1st September. It has been pushed to 15th October. Did you hear it?
Executive Secretary of the Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana, Samson Awingobit, announced to the traders government will reimburse those who have paid their CTN charges ahead of the planned September 1 implementation date. The new date for the implementation is October 15, after Guta raised concerns. This is to allow government to iron out all the issues that have come up.
Press release has just come out from government, and it has been said that the Commissioner General is sending same information to the shipping lines. The Commissioner General is also in record with this morning press release saying those who have already paid their CTN charges ahead of the 1st September, government will reimburse those monies to the people. It says that implementation will be shifted to 15th October. It is in their press release. And that there will not be any payment whether come 15th October or in the near future. There's not some, absolutely, it's going to be free of charge. But that is not what we are looking at. The brain behind that they will not use CTN transaction value is what we will be looking at, and we are going to monitor. So it should not get a press release. Yes, indeed, reading it is very laudable. Had it not because of the intervention of His Excellency the President, indeed yesterday, all of them were sitting, including the Chief of Staff and the Vice President. So those who matters in the decision making were in that meeting yesterday. So we thank His Excellency the President, as our able President said on behalf of the group.
Hello, good evening to you and welcome to Business. Now, German automobile manufacturer Volkswagen has signed a memorandum of understanding with the government of Ghana to establish an assembling plant in the country. The move is part of the Germany-Africa investment drive championed by the two countries after the G20 summit. Now, the company, VW, which has a franchise in South Africa, will use Ghana to reach out to its West African markets. The MOU was signed at the Business Dialogue as part of German Chancellor Angela Merkel's West African tour by the Chancellor, now Managing Director of VW Africa, Thomas Schäfer, in an interview disclosed that in January 2019, the company will start producing over 5,000 vehicles in the country.
This journey about a year ago where we had the first interaction with the Ghana government, and we believe from what the discussions brought that there's a huge potential in Ghana to move into a proper industrialization, to have an automotive industry. You have a very strong government that is now doing the right policies. They're trying to get jobs created. They want to industrialize. So we believe that Ghana is the ideal spot in Africa now to get started.
Are you going to be using Ghana as the only market for this industry, this assembly plant, or you are going to use other West African countries as well?
No, we also have activities in Nigeria, for example, but we now look at Ghana for Ghana first and foremost. Ghana at the moment, total new cars that get sold here is about 4,000 a year, but the potential is really 250, 300,000 cars per year. There's no reason why it shouldn't be. Used vehicles is not the future. The future is jobs, local jobs and mobility, and that's what Volkswagen stands for, and we are very prepared to come to this country.
So estimately, how many vehicles are we going to start with? Is your plans going to start with?
Yeah, no, we will install a capacity of about 5,000 units, 5,000 cars per year in the first step. Then we see what the market can absorb, and then we will invest progressively to the demand of the market. We don't know. As I said, at the moment, the total demand is about 4,000 new cars. We invest for 5, and then we see how it goes.
How much investment are we looking at coming into Ghana here with this MOU?
No, well, we're going to investigate this now in the next 2 weeks, but it's going to be a stepwise approach. So we got to match the market.
How long are we going to wait to see this assembly plant in Ghana?
Well, we're targeting to get the first cars on the road by January.
January 2019.
Yeah, of course.
That's nice.
Now, oil exploration firm Aker Energy says it is preparing for an appraisal during drilling campaign beginning in October this year. The campaign is to identify further reserves as the company works on submission of a development plan for the deep water tunnel Cape 3 Points block. Darryl Kwao is covering the Offshore Northern Sea Conference and exhibition and has been speaking with some Ghanaian exhibitors participating in a trade mission by the Petroleum Commission.
Today we have brought you to the Ghana Pavilion. You can see it over there, the stand where the Petroleum Commission has set up. We've got, like we've been reporting, so many Ghanaian companies coming to this conference and exhibition to showcase what they have and to foster partnerships. So I'm going to take you around the Ghana Pavilion. I have here, as you'd see, Freddie Jordan Oil Company Limited. So what's your name?
My name is Kwame Chantua.
Okay, so tell me about your experience.
Well, so far it's been quite good, and you realize that it's those who are very interested in coming into Ghana that are coming to the stand. But yes, for a local company, I think it's been quite good.
Okay. I'm going to ask you about the theme for this year's conference, which is Innovate. How do you think that is critical for the oil and gas sector, innovation?
Well, when you look at oil and gas, it's an evolving industry, and you have different facets of the oil industry. You have onshore, offshore, you have shallow to deep, you have ultra deep. All these come with different types of logistics and different types of organizations that you need. And so we have placed ourselves whereby whether it's onshore, whether it's offshore, whether it's ultra deep, whether it's deep, whether it's shallow, we can partner some of these companies that come in. But it's a very interesting industry and quite a wide industry too.
All right, thank you very much. That was Freddie Jordan Oil Company Limited. I want to take you to our next stand, which is the Barge Freight company. So we want to find out exactly what they do. The director is here, Ato.
Yes.
How has it been so far?
Well, we can't complain. We give thanks to God. It's very positive for us to be here.
Are people approaching you? Are people expressing interest in what you do?
Yes, very much so. And if I may say so, we actually recently had a contract with Aker Energy.
And we've been talking about the difficulties that local companies face in venturing into partnership with multinationals because of concerns about their capabilities. But for you, you have been, should I say, blessed enough to have to partner such a multinational. What do you think you do differently, or what do you think that you have done over the years that has made you catch the eye of a multinational like Aker?
Yeah, the fact that we say that local companies are not up to it itself is a cliche which has been overused, and wrongly so. We have a budding industry, as in the oil and gas industry is budding, and so obviously we don't expect to be at the standard of the multinationals. Having said that, there are a lot of capable companies here in Ghana who are able to partner, and they've done so over the years with foreign companies, and they deliver on their mandate as well.
So officials from the Petroleum Commission are here. We've got officials from GNPC, we've got government officials here, all hoping to engage people, hoping to bring money home. Just like we had the CEO of the Petroleum Commission say, this is not a joyride, but essentially an opportunity for people to bring monies into the pockets of the Ghanaian people. So that's the Ghanaian Pavilion. My name is Darryl Kwao, bringing you the latest from here in Norway.
Now, telecoms giant MTN Ghana is now set to list on the Ghana Stock Exchange this Wednesday. This was after it raised a little over 1.1 billion cedis in its historic public offering. George Wiafe has more.
Official results released by MTN, 128,000 applications came from investors, helping the telecoms giant raise 1.14 billion Ghana cedis. 38.68% of the funds raised came from Ghanaians, whilst the rest from foreigners. Institutional investors also brought in a little over 1 billion Ghana cedis, with retailers accounting for 121 million Ghana cedis. MTN is planning to list 1.5 billion shares on the Ghana Stock Exchange this Wednesday. Chief Executive of MTN Ghana, Salama Dadifo, has been speaking to Joy Business on what next for the firm after what he is describing as a successful initial public offering.
We're very excited about what we've managed to achieve here in terms of raising over $1 billion in this economy today. The next steps, obviously, the listing on the 5th of September. And once we go past the listing, engaging the shareholders broadly at the first AGM. So we're excited to embrace 127 Ghanaians to be shareholders in MTN, and we're looking forward to building a stronger relationship.
You see more pressure on you now, more scrutiny. You've been doing that already, but the requirements that comes with listed or a listed company.
Sure. I mean, remember, MTN is a listed company in South Africa at a group level, and we have standards that traverse all operations. So we're already operating under a lot of scrutiny and a lot of diligence, and that would continue. So I don't expect that to change with the IPO. Yes, there are additional responsibilities like the AGM, but not necessarily in terms of stress on our processes and internal mechanisms. These are all things we've already held to very high standards, and those will continue.
MTN was hoping to raise 3.47 billion Ghana cedis through the initial public offering by selling over 4 billion shares at a price of 75 pesos. For many, MTN may have made history in every area of this public offer in terms of the amount raised, the number of people who participated, and the amount they will be listing on the Ghana Stock Exchange this Wednesday.
And that's it for Business on Joy News Prime. Many thanks for watching. For more business news, log on to myjoyonline.com/business.
General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress, Johnson Asiedu Ketia, is blaming the 2016 electoral defeat of the party on some elements who worked against the re-election of the then national executives in the 2014 Congress at Kumasi. Asiedu Ketia observed that the motives of the sponsored candidates at the time were to weaken his authority and not to retain the party in power. He spoke to my colleague Kwesi Parker-Wilson.
I'm not sure you heard anything about me in the Kwasi Bochwe, all the discussions about Kwasi Bochwe report. Did you hear a single comment about me or my performance? There was nothing about me. Because the simple logic is this. This is a general secretary who had led the party into an election, who has led the party into an election in 2008, repeated the dose in 2012. And now when it comes to 2016, we lost the election. I am a constant factor in the 2 victories and the 3rd defeat. So when you are looking for causes of our defeat, you look at the changes that took place and what new was added, which influenced the result. Because if 2 + 2 is 4, 2 + 2 will always be 4. Sure. But if we change one of the 2's and you add 3, then 2 + 3 will be 5. So if the results has changed, you don't look at the constant factors. You go and look at the variables and you see which variables came on board that led to a different result.
I see. So for you, which variables came on board that led to a different result? Is it because of the 2014 elections when you voted against Cabinet J as your chair and Yabuan Tijan as your organizer? I mean, what are the variables that came on board?
Maybe your guess is as good as mine. Because the same core executives delivered the 2008 elections, delivered the 2012 elections, and they were changed.
I see.
And that was a constant factor. So if the results has changed, then you don't go looking at the constant factor. You look at the variables and find out what was wrong. So when I hear suggestions like you were there when we suffered the defeat in 2016, it defies logical reasoning.
Media reports that he sent a delegation to persuade his closest contender in the upcoming executive elections, Koku Anyidoho, to withdraw from the race.
No, I've explained that one, that it's not true. But I don't want to continue talking about that same thing day in, day out, because it's not very important to me. If somebody makes a statement which is not true and I respond to it that it's not true, I have said the record straight. I don't want to continue repeating it in every interview. So that's behind us. But let me say that The elections is meant to choose the right people to run the party in the opinion of the party. So if the party decides that I should be the general secretary, what is the fear about it? If the party decides that somebody else should be the general secretary, where is the fear coming from? You'll be scared of one resource or the other if you are putting your personal interests above party interests. But in my opinion, once the elections are free and fair, the outcome can only help the party. And I'm sure the party now sufficiently understands that they will not take a decision for MPP to, if it is a wrong decision, it is not the MPP that will suffer, it will be the same party that will suffer. But I trust in the integrity of the delegates that when they see a good general secretary, they can identify a good general secretary from a bad one, and then they will vote for me.
So you're not perturbed at all?
Not at all, not at all.
Well, the number of people who want to contest the flag bearership of the opposition National Democratic Congress keeps increasing as one of its founding members, Augustus Gussie Tanor, officially declared his interest in the flag bearer race of the party. So the leading Gussie Tanor, who was accompanied by some party faithfuls to the NDC headquarters at Araka, where he submitted his letter of intent to the party leadership. Gussie Tanor, as he is popularly known, said he is committed to restoring the values of the party. And he said, I quote, I believe that a renewed and revitalized NDC will have the values, the organizational potentials and vision to lead Ghana to realize the dream of the Fourth Republic, he told the media on Thursday.
And hopefully, thank you, colleagues and friends of the NDC, members of the press. We are here today to fulfill an administrative requirement to submit our letter of intent as to the intention of myself, Augustus Gussie Tanor, to contest the presidential primaries for the NDC, and hopefully with success, become the flag bearer for the new Democratic Congress.
Yes.
For the National Democratic Congress in the 2020 election.
Yes. Yes.
A lot of water has passed under the bridge since December 2016, and all of us are yearning for a revitalized and renewed NDC. We believe that we have the programs, we have the mobilizing capacity to be able to implement this agenda of social justice, accountability, and development, which are the founding principles of our great party, the National Democratic Congress. I'm here with my branch chairman because our belief is that NDC starts from the branch.
Sure. Yeah.
Students of School of Dispensing Optics at Oyoko in the Ashanti region have been left to their fate as tutors abandon classrooms. For the past 2 weeks, no tutor has showed up to teach. Students undertaking a 6-month sandwich program in the school are worried. Nane Aljima visited the campus to find out more.
5 out of 15 students who have fulfilled all requirements to undertake the sandwich program were on campus at the time of our visit. The rest have decided not to show up at all until they hear of the return of the tutors. Those on campus idle about and fidget with their phones to while away time in the absence of serious academic work. Students say efforts to get explanation on absence of tutors have been unsuccessful.
This Monday, lectures should have come on. We came here around 7 a.m. waiting for lectures and school authorities to come around for lectures to start. Nobody was available. Tuesday to nothing came. Yesterday, Wednesday, nobody came. So we came this morning here waiting for our lecturers to come out and tell us why lectures are still at court. Nobody is coming to teach, right?
For me, personally, I'm on leave. It's a leave. That's why I'm here. So I'm supposed to report by, I think, middle of next month. And now, look at what is happening. Are they going to extend the term for me, or what are they going to do?
Love News checks, however, revealed tutors are calling for a renegotiation of their service condition for the sandwich program following information the acting principal is on his way out. Management will not grant their request, insisting they have to wait, reinstated Kofi Boakye. He was suspended on the orders of former Health Minister Alex Sebefia for charging unapproved fees in 2016. Tutors will not take any of that and decided to withdraw their services to the sandwich class. Acting Principal Gabriel Poku says though they are in talks with leadership of the tutors, they have reported the incident to appropriate authorities.
The sandwich program, they said that they have been working with the man who is coming to take over, and for that matter, they don't think that they are ready to work with that man again, and for that matter, they have withdrawn their services so far the sandwich program is concerned. So I called them, and then I think I advised them so that they can go to classroom, but they insisted. The next day I called them, they insisted. So what I know is they are saying that sandwich program to teach or to be part of the sandwich program is not mandatory or compulsory. So they are saying that they've withdrawn their services.
Further checks indicate some teachers are against reinstated principal who resumes work on September 3 for alleged incompetence. They will not speak on record but point to a section of Ministry of Health's letter authorizing Mr. Boakye's reinstatement. It reminds him the ministry would like you to be mindful of the relentless effort it took the Honorable Deputy Minister and other stakeholders in arriving at this decision. We are therefore entreating you to accord your tutors, staff and other stakeholders the due respect so as to work together as a team in the management of the institution. The letter ends. The teachers suggest a neutral person be appointed to head the school to stabilize its administration. Nana Aljima reporting.
Violence and abuse of children, including sexual abuse, remains very high, with over 90% of children reporting having experienced physical violence both at home and in the school environment. The situation, according to UNICEF, is a national worry, as many Ghanaian children on a daily basis are subjected to all forms of abuse. Joint News' charity Emmy Hill Battles traveled with UNICEF and its development partners to Karachi East in the Volta region to assess the impact of government's Ghanaian Against Child Abuse Initiative, GACA. End reports.
Sixteen-year-old Gifty is one of the countless girls who were forced into early marriages in sub-Saharan African countries. She was 14 years old when she was married off. According to the 2008 Demographic Health Survey, 25% of women aged 20 to 24 were married or were in union before age 18. This child health experts say has reached an alarming stage. This situation is no different in Karachi East of the Volta region. In the 2014 Ghana Living Standards Survey, over 70% of girls were forced into child marriage before age 15.
My father had no wife at the time, so he gave me out for marriage. I'm an orphan, but if I had the chance, I would go back to school. I want to become a seamstress.
Child labor, child trafficking and forced marriages are unending challenges which government and civil society have been trying to resolve over the years in places like Karachi East. The Community Development Unit of the Local Government Ministry in the Volta region says the increase in child marriage and its attendant challenges are not only affecting the education of the girls, but also an economic toll on the region. Joseph Atango is head of the Community Development Unit in Karachi East.
It is affecting our community negatively. As you know, if you educate the woman, you educate the entire nation. And so you realize that the poverty level here continues to rise as compared to other regions. So this is the more reason. You see, if the lady is able to even reach SS level, maybe that girl can get something to do. But even not completing class 6, some of them not completing class 6, JSS, they will not even complete. So how will it get any economic things to do?
Metropolitan Chief Executive of Karachi East, Patrick Chati Jalima, believes the initiative to end all forms of child abuse by government, UNICEF and its development partners, KOICA, is gradually aiding in the reduction of early marriage and child labor in the region.
Child trafficking, early child marriage, child labor, and let me say forced marriage in Karachi East for years past. It was very rampant. But with the intervention of the Assembly, UNICEF, World Vision, with their intervention, this has completely reduced.
The 2014 Ghana Living Standards Survey's child labour report indicates that over 20% of children aged 5 to 17 were engaged in various forms of child labour, with over 90% of children in the age group of 8 to 11 suffering various forms of injuries and other health-related issues. KOICA Country Director Yokiom Kim reiterated his organization's commitment to support Ghana in dealing with the menace.
The reason why we are supporting the KAKA campaign is that because the very important thing for the girls to get better opportunities for their futures is to so one of the obstacles for the girls to achieve their bright future is the child abuse. So by supporting these campaigns, we would like to promote the public awareness in the communities.
Stakeholders are of the view despite a drop in rape cases from 337 in 2014 to 316 in 2015, much remains to be done to ensure that the sheet is very clean. Charity Emihil Batel's report for Joy News, Karachi East, Volta Region.
There is always another way.
The Ministry of Communication says it is building capacity of school children to be able to create digital applications for career development. The initiative includes introduction to graphical programming language and Scratch. Nanya Jima sat through some of the Scratch programming classes in the Ashanti region and filed this report.
The ICT facility at Kodie in the Efija Kwabre district of Ashanti has become new haven for mostly basic school children currently on vacation. They are taken in batches through introductory lessons in Scratch coding.
To move cartoons, to make videos, some small videos, you can make them out of Scratch.
So what have you learned so far?
I've learned that the person you put on the backdrop is called a sprite, and the background of a picture is called backdrop. I can let the icons or the objects of the Scratch to dance, and I can also change its directions and its moves.
Their colleagues at Insuta in the Seche Central District go through similar routine. Scratch enables beginners in coding to learn concepts and create interactive projects. This is done without the need for text-based programming language. Most countries have adopted this concept into their curriculum. The next education reforms in Ghana are likely to infuse Scratch into ICT education. Minister for Communication, Esla Osu Ekufu, looks into the future.
There's coding for kids, there's STEM units all over the place. I know the mobile network operators are also doing some basic skills training in this area. We're partnering with all of them so that we can scale it up. The good news is that the Ministry of Education is also undergoing a curriculum review, and they're going to institutionalize coding and IT skills in the curriculum from the basic schools through to the senior high school, so that our children can also get those skills as part of their normal curriculum. And after school activities, the clubs are also set up in schools. We will be having more competitions next year, so that we can, at various levels, also encourage them with interesting prizes to also take this up seriously. And we're hoping that at the end of the day, we'll be able to build the core of human resources that will build the foundations of a vibrant applications and software industry in Ghana.
Reporting for Joy News, Nane Ojima, Kumasi.
Hand pollination of cocoa trees are yielding more returns for farmers in the western region. An acre of farmland can now produce between 24 and 30 bags of cocoa instead of between 3 and 10 bags previously. Correspondent Mahmoud Muhammad Nuruddin filed this report.
Naturally, mature cocoa tree is able to produce about 1,000 flowers. However, about 90% of this is being lost through flower dropping due to inactivity and reduction of insect pollination agent. In 2017, Ghana Cocoa Board, upon realizing the reduction in production, decided to introduce the hand pollination method. After the introduction, cocoa trees that were producing about 30 to 40 pods can now produce over 300 pods. In most extreme cases, as observed on Gilbert and Company's farm, 879 pods have been produced.
I'm so much actually because officer not the eco school.
The agric officers and pollination agents often monitor to see if we practice the hand pollination method.
Mfaso abama ya no nyagoro intermediate pollination no mi wuada so there was a war sampa afu mo sabana boa yempa was pollination no.
Over 20,000 pollinators were trained for some selected farms for the pilot program.
The hand pollination method has helped us a lot and farmers as well. The training given to us has really helped.
Yeah, training for front. I mean, it's busy because of bites.
Chief Executive of Cocoa Board, Joseph Boahin Edu, says increase in production will make up for falling prices.
Ever since we introduced hand pollination, farmers are doing 20 bags per acre. The farmer we interviewed here said he made 25 bags. We've gone to other places, almost everybody is getting 25 bags.
The price of cocoa continues to fall on the world market, with a bag of the commodity selling at 475 Ghana cedis. But Mr. Edu is urging farmers not to panic over the price, with assurance government would continue to support cocoa farmers so they would not be affected by the price change.
If the price is 475 and the farmer is getting 3 bags, when you multiply, you get 1,475, 1,450 Ghana cedis. Now, if you decide to reduce the price, right, it means that it's an equation. It means that you have to look at the yield. So if the price is going to go down, then the yield must go up. When the yield goes up, the farmer will not be worse off. I've indicated all what we are doing, all the interventions are aimed at making sure that the farmer does not get worse off.
Meanwhile, pollinators have been encouraged to form cooperative union to help farmers and create more jobs. Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin's report for Joy News.
Less than 1% of patents granted in African countries originate from outside the continent. As a result, the regime has done little to stimulate creativity and innovation to drive socio-economic development. That's a revelation by Chairman of the Ministerial Council of the African Intellectual Property Organization, Samuel Tambenu. The group is collaborating with the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology to introduce a master's program in intellectual property rights. Mr. Tambenu spoke at the launch in Kumasi, and Kwesi Debra brings you more.
In IT,
KNUST becomes the second institution in Africa to run such course after Zimbabwe's University of Mutare set the pace 10 years ago. A one-year course introduced earlier was placed under the College of Social Sciences and Business Management. The revised two-year program will focus on science and technology, for which reason it comes under the umbrella of College of Engineering. 24 African countries are supplying the first batch of students for the two-year program. Mr. Tembenu says the introduction of the program enhances Africa's effort to address its intellectual property right shortfalls.
But we haven't really enabled our people, our students, our young men to be thinkers and innovators. It has historical background in the sense that when we inherited the laws, intellectual property laws, in our respective countries, especially in the river region, they were meant more to cover the area of protection of rights, especially as perceived by our colonial masters. They brought the laws here because they had rights to protect. But the laws had a gap in the sense that they did not create an enabling environment for us to be creators and innovators.
World Intellectual Property Organization is providing support. Vice Chancellor of Kenya University, Professor Kwesi Obridanso, is hopeful students would keep pace with technology trends and responsive to concerns about the subject.
So this intellectual property is going to empower a lot more people to be able to help people who come up with some creative ideas to be able to at least have that as their own and not be hijacked by others in society.
Registrar General Ms. Jemima Mama Oware says intellectual property is high on government's agenda of the national property reforms.
The launch of this program resonates with government's policies and projects to build a national innovation capacity aimed at industrializing the private sector with the launch of the One District, One Factory project. It is therefore opportune to tap into the enduring need for education and intellectual property to encourage and leverage on the economic value of innovation and creativity in support of our national economic development, in particular, and technological development in West Africa and Africa as a whole.
Reporter for Joy News, Kwesi Deborah.
Embattled Rector of the Wa Polytechnic was Thursday afternoon prevented from entering his office. He arrived at the Polytechnic's administration only to find doors leading to his office locked. The Wa High Court on Tuesday quashed the decision of the Governing Council suspending Professor Owusu Mafo as director. Joy News Upper West correspondent Rafiq Salam reports from Wa.
This is the first time Professor Emmanuel Owusu Mafo came to the Wa Polytechnic since the Wa High Court ruling that quashed the suspension by the Governing Council of the Polytechnic. He arrived at the forecourt of the administration in the controversial luxurious $500,000 Mercedes Benz. Dressed in kente cloth, he sauntered on majestically without greeting the few administrative staff and lecturers around. He managed a subdued smile and headed to the entrance. Professor Mafo took few steps and moved to the back of the administration block where two of the doors were located but at opposite sides. They were both under lock and key.
I think they might have heard that I was coming to report or just come to my office. And unfortunately, they appear to show that I'm not needed in the office, and they are not ready to comply by the decision of the court that the suspension was illegal, was not done in the normal way.
The Governing Council of the Polytechnic scheduled an emergency meeting for Friday, which the embattled rector was invited to. Professor Mafo said he will not be attending because he is not needed at the meeting. He spoke of his strained relationship with some members of the Governing Council.
They don't have the respect for me to come in, and so I want to really state it explicitly to your hearing that I will not come to the council meeting. They can reschedule it if they will ensure that I come to the office before another council meeting is held. Because these people who are following me are ensuring that by hook or crook, they take me out. The people against me, most of them, half of them, are from the opposition side, and those are the people in the school, the Polytechnic unions. some of the the government nominees, I would say that not even some, the government nominees, with the exception of the council chairman, they are on my side because they are neutral. They do not play politics. They do not stay here and do all sorts of funny politics. I'm telling you the truth.
On claims that he breached procurement procedures to buy luxurious saloon car worth $500,000 Ghana cedis, he said he did no wrong.
A vehicle that it was purchased for $500,000 Ghana cedis, as per what you have said, is not something that was taken from the IGF, Internal Generator Fund. It was allocation that is usually given to every institution. And how you use it, it was presented there. And as I'm talking to you right now, not a cent has been paid by the GET Fund. And so when they say I'm corrupt, in what sense?
Immediately he sped off in his Mercedes-Benz. The gates of the administration were open. The administrative staff and the lecturers who were present refused to speak to us. Reporting for J News, Rafiq Salam. Wow.
Right, that's it for the bullets. My name is Israel I. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good night.
This is Joy News Prime.